How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you been covering up for Andrew?
Go away, Manny. Go away. That's enough. There's children here, right? Police officer, right? You carry on, you can be arrested for breach of peace. Okay.
They called him a liar when he said the royal family has invisible contract with the tabloids' vultures. Well, look at the names mentioned in court. None other than Prince William and Kate's mouthpieces. They write character assassination pieces on Meghan and Harry on a daily basis. The evidence laid bare in legal proceedings has revealed what many suspected all along: a sophisticated network of palace-approved journalists who serve as conduits for carefully crafted narratives that elevate some royals while systematically destroying others. These aren't independent reporters pursuing truth. They're willing participants in a protection racket that shields certain members of the Windsor clan while feeding others to the wolves. The same colonists who pen glowing profiles of William's steady leadership one day will turn around and publish venomous attacks on Harry's character the next, all while pretending to maintain journalistic objectivity. It's a cycle of manipulation, so brazen, so well documented in court filings, that the only people still pretending it doesn't exist are those who benefit from the arrangement, and those too invested in the fairy tale to acknowledge the rot beneath the crown. The Royal Tabloid Alliance, they swore, didn't exist. The initial accusation, when the first whistleblower dared to suggest that an invisible contract existed between the royal family and the tabloid vultures, they called him a liar, dismissed him as a conspiracy theorist peddling fantasies from the fringes. The mainstream media, ever dutiful in their protective stance, unleashed ridicule and disbelief, wrapping the accuser in mockery until his voice seemed small, inconsequential, easily ignored. But then the court documents emerged, and suddenly those conspiracy theories had names. Prince William's mouthpieces, Kate's loyal spin doctors, all there in black and white, their fingerprints all over the machinery of manipulation. The pattern became impossible to deny. Coordinated negative coverage, character assassination pieces churned out with factory-line efficiency. Meghan and Harry's names dragged through the mud on a daily basis with a consistency that suggested not coincidence, but orchestration. What once seemed paranoid now looked prophetic, and the questions that had been so easily batted away began to hang heavy in the air. How legitimate could this deluge of negativity be when the same names, the same players kept appearing in the shadows, pulling strings that everyone swore didn't exist? The Palace Tabloid Pipeline. Exposed. They called him a liar when he said the royal family has invisible contract with the tabloids' vultures. Well, look at the names mentioned in court. None other than Prince William and Kate's mouthpieces. The court documents laid it bare. Specific spokespeople, people who sit in palace offices and answer directly to William and Kate, actively engaged with tabloid outlets on a regular basis. These weren't casual conversations or chance encounters. This was strategic placement of stories favourable to their image, coordinated releases timed to drown out negative news or boost their public standing. The connections ran deep, direct lines between palace staff and media operatives, relationships built over years of mutually beneficial arrangements.
How long have you known about
They write
Andrew
character
and
assassination pieces on
have you
Meghan and
known
Harry
about
on a
Andrew
daily
and Epstein?
basis. And now
Have
we
you
know
been
exactly
covering
where
up
those
for
stories
Andrew?
originate. The so-called invisible contract wasn't invisible at all. It was hidden in plain sight, maintained through identified individuals, machine, engineered with surgical precision to destroy specific targets while elevating others. The financial incentives are staggering. Each manufactured scandal, each twisted headline, each breathless piece of character assassination translates directly into clicks, subscriptions, and advertising revenue that keeps the tabloid vultures circling overhead. And make no mistake, the targeting is systematic. Meghan and Harry receive the daily barrage, the relentless drumbeat of negativity designed to poison public perception, one sensationalised story at a time, while the favoured royals enjoy puff pieces and glowing coverage. They've turned selective destruction into a business model, and the palace's fingerprints are all over it, no matter how much they protest their innocence or clutch their pearls at the suggestion of coordination. The evidence is right there in black and white. Names, relationships, patterns of attack that would make any conspiracy theorist blush at their own lack of imagination. The systematic targeting of the Sussexes. Meghan and Harry have become the primary targets of what can only be described as a relentless daily character assassination campaign, one that operates with a precision and consistency that speaks to something far more coordinated than mere journalistic interest. The same names that emerged in court documents, the very journalists and editors who serve as mouthpieces for certain royal households, churn out negative story after negative story, day after day, with a repetitiveness that borders on obsession. This isn't scattered criticism or occasional unfavourable coverage. It's a coordinated narrative control mechanism that spans multiple publications, creating an echo chamber where the same talking points, the same manufactured controversies, the same character attacks appear simultaneously across different mastheads, as if orchestrated by a single hand. When you compare the volume and vitriol of coverage directed at the Sussexes to that of any other royal family member, even those embroiled in actual scandals, the disproportion becomes impossible to ignore. While serious allegations against other royals receive measured, often protective coverage that carefully avoids vilification, Meghan and Harry face front-page condemnation for the most trivial of perceived slights, their every word twisted, their every action cast in the worst possible light, their motives perpetually questioned by the very writers whose connections to other royals have now been laid bare in legal proceedings. The paper trail, they said, didn't exist. They called him a liar when he said the royal family has invisible contract with the tabloids' vultures. Well, look at the names mentioned in court. None other than Prince William and Kate's mouthpieces. The legal proceedings didn't just reveal whispers and rumours. They laid bare official names, documented communications, the whole sordid machinery. Court evidence showed direct links between palace representatives and tabloid journalists, the kind of connections that can't be dismissed as coincidence or protocol. We're talking documentary proof here, emails, messages, coordinated media strategy spelled out in black and white. The same people briefing on behalf of William and Kate were the same ones feeding stories to the very publications that write character assassination pieces on Meghan and Harry on a daily basis. It's not speculation when it's sitting in a legal file. It's not a conspiracy theory when the judge has seen the receipts. The invisible contract became visible the moment someone had the courage to demand discovery. The machinery behind the headlines. The so-called invisible contract that many dismissed as paranoia reveals itself in the timestamps and talking points that emerge with clockwork precision. When palace engagements are announced, particularly those involving certain senior royals, negative stories about the Sussexes materialise within hours, sometimes minutes, across multiple publications simultaneously. It's not merely that the coverage is unfavourable, it's that the language mirrors itself with uncanny consistency. The same phrases, the same framing, the same carefully chosen adjectives appear in supposedly independent outlets, as if editors across London received the same memo. One tabloid calls them attention-seeking, and by afternoon 3 others have deployed the identical terminology. A palace source whispers about concerns, and suddenly every royal correspondent is reporting on these same anonymous worries, using remarkably similar sentence structures. This isn't coincidence. This isn't even lazy journalism copying competitors. This is coordination, the kind that requires central messaging, agreed-upon narratives, and a shared objective. The court documents merely confirmed what the pattern of coverage had already telegraphed. There are indeed mouthpieces, and they've been speaking in unison all along. The palace press protection racket. What's truly staggering isn't just that media organisations have spent years laundering lies through so-called royal sources. It's that they've faced absolutely zero consequences for doing so. Court documents laid bare the names. Royal correspondents who've built careers as mouthpieces for William and Kate, the same ones churning out hit pieces on Harry and Meghan like it's an assembly line. And where are the journalism watchdogs in all this? Silent. Completely, utterly silent. No investigations into fabricated stories, no accountability measures, no emergency meetings about restoring credibility to the profession. The entire institutional apparatus has circled the wagons around the tabloid palace axis, protecting their access, their sources, their lucrative arrangement. Because that's what this is. An arrangement, a quid pro quo dressed up as journalism, where reputation destruction gets laundered through official channels and everyone pretends their hands are clean. They called him a liar for naming it, but now the receipts are public, the names are on the record, and still, the establishment machinery hums along like nothing happened. The cover-up isn't a conspiracy, it's standard operating procedure. The reckoning, when court documents expose what palace spin doctors denied. The revelations demand nothing less than a fundamental reassessment of how royal media collusion operates behind gilded curtains, and what it means when those who shape public narrative are finally named in legal proceedings. Questions about transparency in royal media relationships aren't merely academic exercises anymore. They're urgent inquiries into a system that weaponizes headlines while hiding behind plausible deniability. The impact on public perception cuts deeper than simple bias. It's about the systematic corruption of truth in reporting, the deliberate manufacture of villains and heroes according to palace preference rather than journalistic integrity. When the same mouthpieces writing daily character assassination pieces against Meghan and Harry appear in court documents, the invisible contracts become visible, the conspiracy theories become documented fact. This isn't just about one couple's treatment, it's about institutional corruption that requires investigation at the highest levels, about a press freedom so compromised by royal access that it ceased being free at all. The public deserves to know which stories were planted, which sources were palace approved, which damaging narratives were orchestrated rather than discovered. Because without that accountability, without that reckoning, the entire edifice of royal reporting remains nothing more than propaganda dressed in the respectable clothing of journalism.